Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and animals, if you're watching, dogs, cats, whatever. Welcome back to The View from Here, Beyond Enemy Lines. Mike is making believe his picture's frozen, so ignore him. Anyway, I'd like to announce that next Thursday we'll finally have Pastor Jackson Lammeyer.
Don't say finally. Don't say finally. That sounds like, I'm sorry. It doesn't sound good. We are fortunate to have Pastor.
Well, we are very fortunate to have him back because we screwed up the last time he was supposed to be on. I screwed up. I had the wrong time. I marked down the wrong time and told Mike the wrong time. The pastor was there in the studio, and we were nowhere to be found.
And here's the funny thing. That particular day, I was confused as to what time it was, and I called him up. He said, "Oh, we supposed to be there at 2:00?" Or he said, "Yeah." So if he had actually looked and just,
Well, no, if I'd looked, it said 2:00 on my calendar.
Oh, well then
I screwed up on the calendar. That's why.
Oh,
I had it set up with the good pastor through his publicist. But anyway, I may as well say that last week he was on vacation with his family, or this week, but he apparently had an appendicitis. His appendix burst, and he had to have emergency surgery. But he will be all right, and he's okay now. And he's coming here to our studio on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Let me double check that.
Tuesday.
I believe it's a week from today.
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Right. Although our audience doesn't need to know what time that is.
That's right. You don't have to know. We have to know. Unless it's Eastern Standard Time. We're not going live anyway. So, yeah, you're right. Audience doesn't need to know. They just need to know that we're going to be talking to him. And he is a member of, or founding member, wasn't it, of the White House?
I thought he was the president.
White House Faith Initiative or something?
The Pastors for Trump.
He's belongs to the White House Faith Council.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought he was the president of Pastors for Trump.
I believe he is. Anyway, okay. Well, first I want to talk about that illegal jerk, the Egyptian no less. He's got 2 strikes against him as far as I'm concerned. He's illegal and he's a Muslim in this country, and he set 8 people on fire.
12.
Okay, in Boulder, Colorado. Now, the reason I was surprised that nobody took a shot at him, then I find out today, Boulder, Colorado is a Democrat city, which is a gun-free zone. So, of course, people can't defend themselves.
Well, not legally.
Not legally, no.
There is such a thing as natural law. So,
and he picked a group of older people, by the way.
Yeah, of course. All the more reason to carry.
Yes. Yeah, that's the equalizer. I was listening to somebody talking. Oh, yeah, Crowder today. They were talking about the John Wick film. I'm sorry.
What he does. This is what he does.
Everything alarm. I got
Yeah, whatever.
Ooh. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, Crowder was saying that women can't. The John Wick film. I think they're going to try and kill the John Wick franchise, just the way Disney killed off Star Wars.
Well, how many?
Putting a woman who's like 5'3" or something, and she's going to be John Wick is going to be training her to be as deadly as him.
I think it's far more entertaining to watch Keanu Reeves do his gun exercises, which is on YouTube. That is great because it's the real deal. He actually trained to where he
is the real deal.
Yeah,
I mean he's a real kickboxer and all. Yeah. Anyway, I think he competed
with these guns is amazing. He's very well.
Speaking of the guns, that's what Crowder was saying. That it would be more realistic if you she can fight and everything, but if she's going to come up against some guy who's 6'2" and 200-something pounds, she's not going to beat him Okay,
Well,
and they showed a clip of Ronda Rousey fighting a middling skilled male who was about 200 pounds, and he just easily got her, picked her up on his back, turned around with her, and then put her down gently.
yeah,
Okay,
if you can, if you're a highly skilled martial artist and no pressure points, you can get around that. That's one of the advantages of Aikido. Is Aikido uses your power against.
against you.
So you know, if somebody's trying to grab you, and if you're skilled enough and fast enough and blend with them, they're taking a walk. They're going to fly, and you're going to hold on, and you can actually rip every single connection in their muscular section that you grab, like all the muscles be torn and stuff. So Aikido is actually good against a larger opponent.
But even better against a larger opponent or a female defending herself from a male opponent is a gun. Women should be encouraged to carry. I mean, if a woman's going through an alley and she knows some martial arts, and the guy is like 200 pounds, average guy, he's probably going to beat her up. She's probably going to get raped. However, if this same woman is armed with a gun and this guy approaches her to try and rape her, he's probably going to wind up dead.
It's called an equalizer for a reason.
Yes.
A 9mm bullet coming out of a pistol held by a woman has about the same effect as one out of a guy's hand. So, it's like that's the way.
Even a 380 or a 22, if it's well placed, it's going to do its job.
Well, yes, and the thing is that, as we've talked before, 22 long rifle is responsible for more killings than any other round. But it may not stop you from getting your ass kicked, because you might shoot the guy, he might come over and stab you to death and then walk off and die later.
Well, yeah, thanks to New Jersey law and other states, and some other states, you can't have more than 10 rounds in a gun. So
well, it's not a question of rounds. It's that.
It could be, because if you had 15 rounds or 20 rounds in a 22, you keep shooting and get away. The guy's going to go ow, 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 and maybe leave you alone.
But at the same time, I'll be honest with you. If you're going to shoot at rim fire for self-protection, I don't think it should be in a semi-auto. I think it should be in a revolver.
Yeah, that would probably be better. That's usually 8 shots to 10 shots.
Yeah. So let's put it this way: the smaller the caliper, and that also implies less power, a smaller round. The more important placement is.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking about a 22 Magnum, though, then that is a lot more firepower than a 22 long rifle.
I actually carry a 22 Magnum revolver on occasion for self-defense.
Right.
Because it
is
highly concealable, and it's far more powerful than a 22 long rifle. But more importantly, the 22 Magnum is a higher quality production. So those rounds actually, for argument's sake, let's say a long rifle round, which is the most common, has a 1 in 500 chance of failing to fire.
Misfire.
Then the 22 Magnum, and these are not accurate figures, would have a 1 in 1,000. So they put a little bit more money into the round, into the production cost. So the 22 Magnum is a bit more reliable, and it's significantly more powerful. But if it's coming out of a short barrel, you're going to lose some energy. So again, the less.
Yeah, but we're talking self-defense at close quarters here.
Listen,
you're not going to take a 22 and shoot at a guy 50 feet away who's coming at you.
If you shoot a regular person with the 22 Magnum, they're going to evacuate if they can. If you're shooting an animal that's out of control, that's hopped up on junk, and they're trying to kill you, it may not stop them, and that's the problem.
You would need more than one shot.
You need,
you could have a 9mm or a 45 and shoot the animal and miss, and you're still going to get better.
The thing is, there have been cases where police women have been in close quarters with an individual, and they shot him like a number of times with the 9mm. It didn't stop them, and they ended up getting killed. So that is on record.
Yeah, if they're on drugs, they're on PCP or something.
Well, it's also the individual themselves. It's like if they're heavily muscular, if they're wearing a heavy jacket, if you're not hitting vital spots, if they're enraged, if you have a ton of adrenaline in you, so there's a lot of factors involved. But let's put it this way: better that than a sharp stick. Unless you can stabby with the stick many times. there's the problem with this argument. It's kind of like the same level as what define art. If you go and you ask an artist to define art, they're going to spin in circles because art is an esoteric experience.
It's a personal experience, yeah. Okay, yes. Hey, did you hear that British NCOs were ordered by the new head of the British Army? They've been ordered to no longer yell at sensitive candidates. So now they're pussifying the British Army.
Oh, no, they're not pussifying the Army. They're just simply being polite. I think it's important for all the British people with firearms to be exceedingly polite and not get in an argument with anybody.
No, they won't. They don't even know. This is recruits who come to boot camp. You can't yell at them. Imagine if you went through boot camp and you never got yelled at once.
That would have been nice. But
yes, you wouldn't have been as hard as you came out.
Well, let's put it this way:
formidable.
I wouldn't have tried as hard not to get in trouble. That's for sure. I wouldn't say I was a tough guy when I came out, but I sure as hell took them seriously. And the whole point of boot camp, it's not always called boot camp. It depends on where you're going. That's the point of it is to give you an uncomfortable environment for you to get used to the idea that you can handle great levels of discomfort. So this way, when a real bad situation comes up, you're extreme.
You're used to pressure.
Yes, exactly. And now what they focused on most of all in the Air Force was psychological torture.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't as much interested in physical, but they constantly...
just like the state police.
Yeah, they constantly were on top of us, trying to get us to trigger. And so, unlike, let's say, the Marines that do a lot of physical work,
physical and psychological.
We did. Well, it's all part of it. But I mean, that's just,
Do you remember the Monty Python skit where I forget his name? He played a British drill sergeant, and he's yelling at the recruits and saying, "Who doesn't want to go marching up and down the square in this hot sun, this and that, so forth?" And one guy says, "Oh, you'd rather be where? Oh, I'd rather be doing my piano lessons. I'm learning piano." He goes, "All right, then get out of here, go." Right? He lets him go. Then another guy says he wants to be with his wife. She's doing knitting stuff because she's going to have a baby, and he'd like to help her out. So tells him to go. Anybody else rather do something else than march up and down this square? It was like ridiculous, and that was Crowder that brought this up about the British NCOs, and then they showed that clip from Monty Python. So.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose of having recruits brought up that way, other than to just make them recruits in name only.
Oh my God, the Russians and Chinese must be saying, "Yay!"
Well, the Russians, half of the Russians are dead now, so that's
incredible, man. We've got 1 million million dead. I don't know if that's on both sides or each side or what, but that is worse, I think, than World War One. I mean, not World War
Oh
II.
no,
Russians tend to lose a lot of people.
World War II, I believe they lost 10.5 million people.
20 million. 20 million, I think.
Oh, okay. I know they lost more than anybody else.
Just Russia, yeah. Russia alone. Russia alone probably lost as much as everybody else combined.
Well, there was the Stalingrad, which was probably the worst.
Yeah, but Stalingrad, they wound up killing or capturing, I think, 1 million Germans.
Uh,
I mean, think of these numbers. That's staggering. You know?
The thing is that the one of the the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, the reason why we beat the Germans was primarily because of the Russians. The Russians fought them a lot.
You can't fight a war on two fronts like that and expect to win both.
Well, what's interesting is that Russia moved all their heavy industry west, which is a hell of an endeavor. And then on top of that, Russia, in the end, had the finest tank. Their tank was the best tank there was. I forget what it was called, T-42 or something like that.
T something.
Yeah, but
it was even bigger than the Tiger tank.
Many of their experts say yes, and it was being produced like crazy. Whereas the Americans, the Sherman tank was pathetic compared to these other tanks.
Wasn't it the Sherman tank that was called the Tinderbox or something?
Yes.
Or Matchbox?
Yeah. But the thing is that the reason why the Sherman was basically versus other tanks, not a great tank, was because that was not the philosophy. The philosophy was not to make the greatest killer tank. The philosophy was to make a lot of them really fast.
Yeah, and also they were more support than attack vehicles.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
See, another thing that's interesting about the American battalions and stuff and armies is that America's units were modular. So every a battalion would have so much artillery, so many tanks, so many infantry, so many engineers, etc. Whereas a lot of the other countries, they had specialized units that this is the engineers, this is the tank unit, etc., etc. So generalship wise, you had to be very, very savvy because you had to understand the limits of that particular unit. Whereas in the American thing, you could mix and match them as you needed them. So the American army was more flexible.
Yeah. Also, because they didn't have to wait for until the days of Barack Obama. You didn't have to wait for. Actually, started under Bill Clinton, then continued under Bush, where our guys, even a sniper, couldn't take a shot without the order coming from Washington.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
in those days, I mean, before the Americans were allowed to make their own decisions and change battle plans on the spot if they had to. Whereas the Russians, the Germans, they had orders. They had to follow those orders, or they might face a firing squad.
Here's another thing that's kind of interesting: American military had less officers than the other countries because it was expected.
Too many of them.
It was expected that the American independent soldier should be somewhat self-sufficient, should be able to respond on their own. So, whereas the Germans had officers all over their men, forcing them to do what they wanted to do, the Americans actually had a few leaders with battle plans and just issuing orders, and they were going out in groups.
Yeah, but this is why during the war there were often times when all the officers were killed, and you see it in a lot of films about World War II and Korea and so forth, where the commanding officers were all killed, and all of a sudden you're the corporal, but you're in charge because everybody else is dead.
A battlefield command.
Yeah.
So if you're the sergeants would take over, And the thing is, a lot of times, when I was in the Air Force, the master sergeants were highly regarded,
They
even
still are.
even amongst the officers. Like if the master sergeant came up and said, "I don't think this is a good idea," I don't care what rank you are, you're going to listen to this guy at least and look at it. Because
And Tim Walsh tried to claim he was a master sergeant. Lying piece of shit.
he was a master sergeant in his bedroom when his boyfriend used to butt fuck him. Who's the master sergeant? I block that kid.
Did you see what he said about Trump? We have to get more fierce against the Republicans. He wants to be fierce.
Meow. Gotta get more fierce. Meow. Come on, pussycat, get more fierce.
Yeah. If he were in charge, he'd be distributing tampons to the military.
Yeah. Well, So, but the thing is that thank God he's no longer anything other than a joke. I mean, even
he never was. And the thing is, until he was nominated, nobody knew him. Nobody knew about him. Except people in Minnesota.
I never heard of J.D. Vance until he became.
I never heard of J.D. Vance either until he was nominated. Yeah,
same thing, bro. It's like these. There's that's not my world. Politics is not my world, so I don't know all these people. As a matter of fact, I believe Donald Trump Jr. was the one who suggested J.D. Vance to his father.
Wait a minute. Don Jr. or Don Sr.?
No, there's
well,
not.
This is an inside joke because this is a part of something that we're going to ask the Gnarly Girls when they're on. Oh, that's right. Hopefully we have the Gnarly Girls this Friday. I'm still waiting for confirmation. We were supposed to do it at noon. However, I'd like to move it up an hour or so if I could.
Well, they're going to show up because I have this dance pole that I installed, and I'd hate to think I wasted the money.
You wish.
They are some strange ladies. Let me tell you, some of their stuff.
I haven't seen Serafina. I've seen Tony on her Instagram, and I heard one of their podcasts. I want to listen to another one before the show.
Some of their stuff is very funny. Like they did this thing on, I believe it's called the Survival Man, where they're basically these girls that are into survivalists, and it's a song. It's funny. I thought it was a clever idea.
Yeah, I got to check that out. Serafina, I don't know what she looks like. No, wait, I'm sorry. I did see a picture of the two of them. They're nice looking women.
Sure.
I think I can say that without getting canceled. And, if I can't say it without getting canceled, then cancel me because I don't give a shit. Okay. I'm already canceled, probably.
I gave a shit this morning.
Yeah, I did one. Throughout the day, I dropped several. I give several.
Oh,
shits.
By the way, did you hear that the family, that the wife and the kids of the family of the guy that was killing Jews with the makeshift they grabbed the family because they don't believe that the woman's innocent.
Probably not. Look. They're from Turkey. They're Muslims, and he was here illegally. His visa expired in 2018, and then the Biden regime, of course, let him stay. No problem. So another American death on the hands of the Biden regime. Not just Joe Biden and Kamala the cackler, but also what was his name? That bald jerk off who was in charge of Homeland Security. I forget his name. I could see his face.
No, I actually went to a therapist to forget him. But I know who you're talking about. And let us not forget.
He looked like a tumor on the dog's asshole.
What about our trans duo, the Admiral and the bald-headed bitch?
Oh, the Admiral and the suitcase thief.
Yeah. Sticky fingers.
I saw a great meme after Trump won the election.
What a
They're
stupid,
showing
ugly pair. I mean, can you get more like twisted and mentally deranged than that pair? Boom. Oh,
well.
okay.
The admiral. I saw a meme with the admiral after Trump won the election, and it said, "Great, no, I'm out of a job as well as having no dick." Hello.
Well,
Did you freeze? Oh no. All right.
it's just
Now you're frozen. I
I'm
can
just
tell.
glad that all
Anyway.
that.
All right. I didn't
This
tell
is not
that
a pun.
correctly.
I'm just
As
glad
usual,
it's
I
all
botched the joke.
behind
I'm
us.
sorry. Your voice is screwed up here.
Something's going on.
Hold on. Your voice is not coming through.
Well, you're breaking.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going to pause this a moment. All right. We're recording again. I paused it to see if it would sync, but you're not syncing. I can't hear what you're saying.
This is exciting.
That's better. Okay. Mike has logged off. He'll come back into the studio in a moment. In the meantime, let's see. What was it? Battleground Penta. What did I want to? Hold on. Okay, I heard something today on two different podcasts, which remind. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. I heard something today on two different podcasts.
You're gonna have to.
One Scott Adams and one on Louder with Crowder. It was about how leftist women are very depressed and very unhealthy. Reminded me of Dr. Carole Lieberman. What the heck? He went downstairs for something. Your alarm's going off or what? Let me pause this till he gets back. And he's back. I hear him clomping up the stairs.
Are you recording?
Anyway, it reminded me of Dr. Carole Lieberman, America's Psychiatrist, whose specialty these days is actually the insanity of the left. So she must be happy that her studies and her theories are being what do you call it? Proven that leftists are really mentally disturbed. They're depressed and their health is bad. And also part of that study was that conservative people have a better outlook and thus are in general healthier than leftists.
Well,
what do you got across your?
Oh, this is
back there?
This is the thing I carry my phone in when I'm.
I thought you were starting wearing a purse.
No.
Okay. In these days of transitions, who knows what's going on?
I can understand your confusion, but anyway, the thing is that the.
Wait a minute, is that one of those cases that has the like a Farraday case?
No, this is just a passport case, and when I don't, I normally carry my phone on my side, but when I'm not wearing that clothing, I like to have this in the house because I don't have. What was that thing that I've fallen and I can't get up? What was that? The right
life alert.
So the thing is, this is better than a life alert because it's with you.
Anyway, see this is a Faraday cage case. I clip it onto my back pocket, slip the phone in here, and I'm protected from the radiation. Plus, wait a minute. On top of that, underneath the thing here, I have one of those little discs that absorbs the radioactivity, and I checked it out with the radio. I checked it out with the Geiger counter I have, and it does reduce the radioactivity.
It's a waste of time.
Lot.
You know why? Because if there's an EMP and your phone survives, it won't have anything to talk to.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I got an EMP bag for the iPad or the laptop and so forth. And even if I covered this thing completely, put it in a Faraday cage, well, no, you'd be able to talk to people who have Faraday cages themselves, but you don't know who they are, what their numbers are. The network itself, you mean? Oh, yeah, you're right. You know, the only thing that would survive, you'd have to have a satellite phone.
Right, and that, depending upon the nature of the attack, that may not be available. So, the thing is that I can understand you want protecting some sort of electronics, but
I'm protecting my own skin right now, literally, my own tissue.
But it's just, if something like that happens, this would be a large scale problem, not.
Well, I know. That's why I don't bother with a Faraday cage at home where I put the phone in at night. No, because it's not going to help if everything's
There is
down.
an exception. If you have walkie talkies and you put them in a Faraday cage, those are going to work.
I do have a one of those radios that I bought when I was involved with that group that you put me in contact with that time.
That's what I have.
Which later on I left anyway. Yeah, I have one of those. Oh, so I'd be able to
well,
talk
theoretically,
to you.
but of course you're breaking the law because
but there's 21 channels. Well, we don't know. We don't know because there's a lot of channels. Also, you're not supposed to go on certain channels without.
What's important is not so much whether or not you'd be able to talk, but you certainly would be able to listen.
Well, that's why they sell those things. The little one, you ever see those? I have one of those in there.
Those
that you wind
just
up
AM,
like
FM.
Yeah, exactly. You listen.
Yeah, that's good in natural emergencies and stuff like that.
Yeah, but insofar as an EMP, I don't know if that would work.
I hadn't thought of that, have you? Well, zombies. They could in a zombie apocalypse. You could have.
Well, I think the zombie apocalypse is on us now. They're called Democrats and liberals.
Yes.
Democrats, yeah, they are zombies, really. I mean, they claim that us Trump supporters follow Trump blindly. This that bullshit. They don't know they don't know that we don't agree with every single thing that the president does, but they think so because they project onto us how they feel. They follow lockstep in everything. So they are the zombies. They have no ability to think. The fact that Republicans, they make fun of, the Republicans are arguing among themselves about this, that, and the other thing. Well, that shows that we have minds of our own. We think about things, and we can disagree. The Democrats, you disagree. Oh my God,
I disagree with you. I don't think the Democrats are zombies because zombies are kind of like brainless, soulless things that just want to eat. So what they are is not zombies. What they are is vampires. They want to suck the blood and the energy out of you.
They want to suck the energy and lifeblood of life.
You said something.
They don't want anybody to have fun.
Well, no, unless of course it includes burning and hitting people in the back of the head with bricks. Yeah, but So anyway, to have that family incarcerated now.
Good. And they should all be deported together. Keep them together.
This
bullshit about deporting felons. They're saying, they're separating families. You know what? These people are given a choice. The ICE asked them, what do you want to do with your kids if the kids were born here? They say, do you want them? Do you have family members here? Do you want anybody here to take care of them? Because they will take them to those people. Or do you want the option of them going with you overseas? And they're citizens, so they can come back later. But they can leave with you if you're being deported.
Why are they citizens?
If they were born here, we still have that
citizenship.
No, unfortunately, still does, and the Supreme Court hasn't said.
Well, the thing is that's law. So that you have to have it. What you're trying to tell me is, if you're on vacation over in France and your wife dumps her baby there, all of a sudden that's a French citizen? No, that's not work.
No, it doesn't happen anywhere.
Well, then it's wrong.
Country. Of course, it's wrong. And that was intended, the 14th Amendment was intended to give slaves equal rights to that white people have.
The thing is
Okay?
that the slaves were already established as being part of the American population.
Yes, but they made it. They were being treated badly anyway. So Congress said, no, we're going to make it. They are Americans. They have the same rights as every other American because they were born here. And now the left is taking that, saying, "Oh, if they're born here, we got automatically."
You abolish slavery, and you have all these slaves. What are you going to do with them? Are they American citizens? Well, you've been counting them as a portion of the population. That's why in 1776, when they the Constitution, they said, "What was it? 3/5." Right. So
you know why? Yeah, but you know why?
That's what I'm going to talk about. So the thing is that the reason why they did that is so this way the South would not always maintain the majority in Congress, and so that in the future, at some point, there was a chance to go ahead and outvote them for slavery. So the thing is,
yeah, because the South wanted them to count everyone, just like the left wants to count.
Right, but
every
the point is that they were seen as not so much as equal citizens, but as a population that is part of the American group, right?
And counted toward representation.
Right. So the thing is that so they've already been established as being quasi-Americans. Okay, so they gave them the opportunity to become full Americans, and that was the 14th Amendment. Because it had to be done. But the thing is that just it wasn't that they were born here; they were recognized as being part of the population count. So that there's more to it than that. You are the citizen of a country based upon your parentage, your heritage, not because you happen to be born on a particular piece of property.
Right. And that holds everywhere except in the United States, because these leftists want
Wasn't Obama the one who started this bullshit with the Dreamer bill?
No, that's a different thing. No. I mean, it was since Obama mainly that they've been bringing in. They've been encouraging anchor babies. That's what they're called, anchor babies. Because, for example, Bruce Lee, his parents were over here doing a play in Chinatown in California, San Francisco, and he was born here because his mother was pregnant when they came over, and so he was an American citizen. That's why he was able to come here when he was a teenager. Okay, when he was 18, but he. Now nowadays these anchor babies are here, and they use them. The left wants to use them to keep the whole family of illegals.
Here's my view on it, and I don't understand the minutia. You go with the parents, okay? What is this with bullshit choices? No, those are your parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, those are your kids. See you later. That's it. That's the way it goes.
But wait, if your parents are living in France, not just visiting, but living, they emigrated there, and you're born there, different. Then you're French. If you're on vacation, you're born there, you're still American. Just like if you're in the military with McCain, he was
in the
born
first
in Panama.
example. We're talking about transferring citizenship from one citizen to a newborn citizen versus establishing citizenship simply because of the location that the child is born. No, that's not how it works.
No, that's wrong. Yeah. I mean, look, John McCain was able to run for president because he was an American citizen, even though he was born in Panama. His father was stationed in Panama. If you are in the military and you're stationed anywhere in the world, you are still considered American, and you have American citizenship.
An embassy is considered a piece of that country. So the American embassy, that is American land, even though it's in somebody else's country.
Yeah, and right up until the fucking Ayatollah Scamahola had them take over the American embassy in Iran, embassies were pretty much sacred space for everybody.
Yeah.
No,
No,
they were. If you were inside the embassy and there's trouble in the country, they would leave you alone.
During the what is it, the Center of the Wars? I forget, but yeah, the embassies were in trouble in Peking and such. The embassies are there by the grace of civility. And when the country stops becoming civil, then it's no longer safe. So if you have a situation like it,
yeah, that's when you evacuate.
I'm quite sure. It's that you're at war or you have a state of emergency when your embassy is overrun, like that, like in Libya.
Yeah, and that I'm still convinced that Hillary Clinton had a hand in that, because she and Obama were trying to hide the fact that they had Christopher Stevens, the ambassador, they had him supplying guns to people who weren't supposed to get them, and they let him die because they didn't want him ever revealing what they were doing.
Well, there's a big mess there. I mean, at the very least, let's say that level of skullduggery didn't exist, then we have to presume there was incompetence. In either way, either there was incompetence or there was intended murder. And either way, it doesn't work. Hillary Clinton was there. I mean, she's a miserable creature.
She is a horrible, evil person.
Right. As a matter of fact, she gives evil a bad name.
Yeah, Satan doesn't want her in hell because she's afraid she'll try and take over.
Yeah. She does. She's just a miserable creature, and her husband he's no damn good either.
Yeah, well, she was so convinced she was going to beat Trump in 2016. That's why she didn't give a concession speech that night. She had to write it before morning because she didn't. They always, all candidates write a concession speech and an acceptance speech. She didn't have a concession speech because she was a shoo-in. It had been promised her. Whoa! You see what happened there. Nothing. Never mind. Oh, we're going to do a Three Stooges. Oh, not a Three Stooges. Young Frankenstein. What hump?
You're the hump. I forgot he's behind me.
Anyway.
I have a different setup right now.
Anyway.
So I'm sitting in a different location.
You can still see your bed
That's
and your
because
night
I think
table.
it just fell. Right, but I couldn't see it before.
We can see it
but
now.
There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to
stop living in the past. We're living in the present right now.
So, I guess that's it anyway.
All right. Oh, one more thing I want to bring up. I found out that there are several apparently around the country, but one is near the Maryland border. A giant, supposedly there's a giant underground city, which is only a few miles away from Camp David, and it is alleged that that city is connected to Camp David. And the guy was making the argument in his video saying, why would these presidents who can go anywhere they want on vacation, why would they go to a log cabin in the woods?
Yeah.
Right? They can go anywhere. They're the president, for crying out loud. And he's arguing that they go to Camp David, but then they go into that underground city, which supposedly was built in the 50s to house the government in case of nuclear war. And that there are supposedly underground cities elsewhere in the country to hide the elites.
Is the NORAD defense in the Rockies?
Yes. Supposedly it can hold, I forget how many, 2,000, 3,000 people?
It's a lot.
Something like, I've heard that. Anyway, this one near the Maryland border is called Raven Rock Mountain. It's in the Blue Ridge Summit. It's in Pennsylvania, actually.
Maybe it's next to the Social Security information.
Oh, they say it was built in 1953. However, critics say, "Oh, are they going to build that so quickly and this and that, and put up buildings in there? And there's supposed to be big buildings under the ground." Now, my answer would be they probably found humongous caverns down there, or a big cavernous area in the mountain, and they built there. That
Or
is possible. I mean, in those days, look, how long did it take to build the
I don't
Empire
know.
State Building? A couple of
Well-
years, I think, right? 2-3 years. Nowadays, you get a thing. It takes you after you get over the paperwork. It still takes you 3-4 years.
Well, let's not
to build
forget the
anything.
Hopi. They built an entire city out of a rock wall. So
Underground.
who's to say that
And
those
they-
buildings are not simply just dug out? So
Still there.
if you're talking about materials, it's already there. All you got to do is hollow it out. Get a couple of geologists and engineers. You got it.
Yeah, they said that there were tens of thousands, I think 10 or 20,000 people
Yeah, well-
who could live there.
Yeah, but
Live there.
we're also not necessarily. I mean, if we're talking about emergency setup, that's going to look a lot different than the Hilton.
Well, yeah, no, because they'll prepare.
So there might be a big cavern that can hold 500 people, and they would all be sleeping in cots there. That works.
Yeah, but this supposedly they built buildings down
Yeah,
there.
you could have
Suppose-
that, and that doesn't change what I said. Maybe there are some more sophisticated stuff, and then there's this rough stuff. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's a question. Hey, if the end of the world is coming and this is the only thing you got, man, you'll take whatever you're given.
Yeah, you'll take it, of course. Sure. You save your ass and your family's ass, and
Yes.
you're okay. You don't give a damn about the peons, the peasants outside.
We'll cry about them later.
I wouldn't cry for a great part of the population out in, let's say, somewhere between Europe, Africa, and Asia. I would not cry at all for those people.
Well, every soul, has a divine spark.
Some of them have no
Some of them-
souls.
Well, everybody's
Okay.
does.
And a lot of them are not that way, but even 10% of them is still in the millions.
Every
The tens of
single
millions.
person and everything in the world is sustained by the mind of God.
True. Or the universe, if you don't believe in
You're
God.
not aware of that. It's kind of like let's say you go to school and you have a teacher and you just don't like the way they are, but down deep inside, unbeknownst to you, they're constantly looking out for you. It's like having
Most of them. That was the case when
no,
we were
what
young.
I'm saying. An example.
Nowadays, well, a lot of teachers, unfortunately, they are trying to push forward an agenda.
Yeah, I'm giving you
They
an
don't give a shit
example
about
of something, and so I was trying to say that all these people, regardless of how corrupt they are, okay, they're all damaged, and fear has driven them to this level of insanity. So we call it evil, etc. And they are parasitical, and they are unwholesome to be with, and many of them should be eradicated. But let's not lose sight of the fact that there is a divine spark in there, and the fact that we don't have the skill to retrieve that doesn't change the fact it's there. You're going to be speaking to Pastor Jackson pretty soon, dude. You better snap out of it, Mr. Misery.
No. Hey, I am not God.
I know
God
that.
forgives. Jesus forgives. I
Oh, sorry, you.
should forgive. I do to a certain extent, but when I see evil, it is very difficult.
What
for
if
me
I
to
told
forgive
you you
evil
are
people.
God?
Well, I believe in one sense we are God. However, I am not.
No, you're not. You're not. You're,
I'm not as divine and as good as what I am a
you
part
know what? We're all part of the God smorgasbord. And you are a Frankfurter, and I am Ambrosia.
No, you look more like a hamburger.
Okay, fine. Be that way.
If I'm a Frankfurter, you're definitely a hamburger.
Okay, can we end this thing? Because I'm
we're going to end it now because I'm out of stuff to talk about. We're going to be back.
This long is crazy. That's all I say.
Yeah, and we welcome and we thank you for it, and we welcome you back again. Friday we're going to have the Gnarly Girls on, and then next Tuesday we'll be speaking to the Pastor.
Unless he sees this video and then realizes that we're not a good choice.
And on both occasions, we're going to be speaking to you, folks. So have a good night. We will see you when we see you.
All right, bye-bye.